And the words that were used were so just not nice. We were told that we didn't deserve that car because we were young. Hey, what's up? It's Torie Mathis, your host, and I am here with the one and only Sean Mathis, founder of Miles Through Time Automotive Museum.
That's me. What's going on?
So, Riley and I were meeting a dog family in our neighborhood that Riley is going to be dog sitting for. We've been getting him quite a few dog sitting jobs, and we were over there, and we went in the Tesla, and we were just kind of like shooting the shit kind of thing, getting to know each other, and mentioned that we had an automotive museum and that it started off with Sean's grandpa's 59 Cadillac. And the guy would looked at me kind of crazy and was like, automotive museum, Cadillacs, Tesla, that doesn't really go together. But I think that's like one of the super cool things that we're doing is that we have this thing going.
And not only is that, I get where he was, Teslas and cars, classic cars. You don't really put those two together in any kind of category. But even just the automotive museum thing, I think I told you, it was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, I actually had a guy come up to me while we were at the gym, and he's like, "Yeah, I see you in here all the time. What is it you do for a living?" And so I tell him, I work for you. I do whatever Torie tells me to. And I was like, I got an automotive museum. And he's blown away by that. And it happens quite often where it's not one of those common, I guess you'd say, career fields, jobs,
for sure.
Business types.
I also don't think we fit the demo for that. They expect somebody that's 65, 70 years old. It's a different...
And that's even in the museum. I'll get you work here?
Oh, I got that all the time when I would work at the desk.
Yeah. And, I don't go in there going, yeah, I started this shit. You're welcome.
When I would work the door, I'd be like, no, my husband owns it. No, not really. But, I kind of wanted to because people are they kind of when they come in would look down a little bit because we look young. And, we are young, I guess, comparatively to the automotive industry, at least the automotive museum industry. So I could see.
But I think that's where breaking down that mold and your perception of what you think something should be or what you think you should do, none of that shit's relevant. It doesn't matter.
But people seem to think it's so relevant. People have these, it's really stereotypes if you think about it. There is this, what you would see as somebody that owns a classic car, and then there's what you would see as somebody that owns a Tesla. And you most likely wouldn't put those two together. And I don't know if it's because of stereotypes or what it is, but I like that even the Teslas, Sean has had the Tesla actually come out to the museum. And so he was able to open up this whole world of Teslas, of electric vehicles, because if you haven't driven one, or maybe if you haven't driven one recently, you don't understand what it's really about. So Truett that Sean works with, that is the curator, the executive director there at the museum. He is in his 60s, early 60s, mid 60s, and has never had an electric car, has never driven in one. But to have Tesla come out there and have him test drive the car and just like a little kid, you know what I mean? And I don't think he would have ever thought of doing that on his own.
Well, and that's just it. He wouldn't have. He would have never gotten himself behind the wheel of one. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he'll ever buy one or not. Who cares? It's the experience that he got to take from that. And it goes the same way. I've never driven a Model T. I've got, how many we have? 5 or 6 of them in the museum. I've never even driven one. And they're not like a normal car. Eventually I will. I'll get the opportunity to get behind the wheel of one while it's outside and actually be able to drive it. But I short of having this museum, I don't think I'd ever expect to ever be behind the wheel of any really of these cars that I've been behind the wheel of. It's crazy just being open to being able to just do things. There's no, I can't do that, or that's not for me. It's just, it just keeps unfolding of these opportunities to do these incredible things that it happens constantly, it's putting ourselves out there. It was like, what was that, 13 years ago now, when we had that damn Lexus.
Oh, yes.
And again, so we, if we look young now, if you're watching us on and you're seeing what we look like, and it's not just our voices over the car stereo, we don't look that old. So you can imagine how much younger we looked 13 years ago. And we got judged back then based off of, what we were driving. And it, really, it wasn't even anything that crazy. It was just something that we worked really hard to be able to do.
Yes.
And instead of saying, well, we can't do it, we went and did it.
And the words that were used were so just not nice. We were told that we didn't deserve that car because we were young.
And really what it was the person that said it was saying, I can't get that car. So
I've worked hard.
Therefore, you don't deserve it either. And that's a horrible way to think.
Yeah. Well, I think even like with the electric cars and stuff, people would look at it and be like, oh, I'm not one of those kind of people. And so they would never even open themselves up to having that kind of opportunity, or I don't even want to say opportunity. That's not the right word I wanted to use. I wanted to use the word experience. Open themselves up to that kind of experience.
With electric cars specifically, you've got 3 types of people. You've got the ones that are all about the fuel economy and environmentally friendly.
They probably got the first Priuses. Those guys,
right? Those guys, maybe they purchased the Leaf, which is an all-electric car, but boring as all hell to drive, and it doesn't go very far. But then you've also got your techno people, the people that need the latest and greatest technology, and Tesla is packed with technology.
Yes.
And these people can be any variety, any combination of these 3, right? So they could be both so far. And then you've got me, the automotive enthusiast. I am in it because it is a fun, good-looking car to drive. The rest of it is a bonus in my mind. I could care less about being the first of any of that kind of stuff.
Right, but we've had several hybrids, so we have gone on the green kind of thing. We were frugal, like we want to save money and get the most bang for our buck.
Well, and
so we do kind of lean.
I remember
into
that Lexus. I remember driving it still 13 years ago. It never shifted gears.
Mm-hmm.
It just pulled. I mean, it was a great car to drive. It was just a SUV, but it was the nicest car I had ever driven at that time.
It was the first car I fell in love with. Like, I had never loved a car before that, but that car was so beautiful, and it drove so nice, and I really did kind of changed me.
we were looking at prices of gas. This was California, so it was crazy back then still, but ultimately it was a fun, good-looking car to drive still. And I think a lot of people get caught up on just, maybe the first 2 things that I mentioned, and forget the whole fact that in the end, it's still a fun car to drive. And these people that are not giving it an opportunity to go, hey, that's...
I think there's a few things there, though. One, I think, is that Elon Musk is such a big personality and has a lot of money. And so because of both of those things, I think people are very quick to judge, and therefore will judge anything that he does just based on their opinion.
Right, he's a love it or hate it guy, right? You either are all over him and take everything he says to heart, or you absolutely despise him because people do,
Right. So I think that there's probably some weirdness there with it, whereas some of the other electric vehicles may not have that. But really, and I told them, like when I went and was talking to the people about the dog, that I thought it was all hype. I really thought that the whole Tesla thing was hyped up. I thought, it's a boring sedan, whatever, it's electric. We've had hybrids, whatever. Then Sean brings home the Tesla. And the first time it really is the funnest car I've ever driven. And now I would really like to drive a gas-powered car that's very, very fast, just to see what the difference is on that. And it's weird because Tesla doesn't market, right?
No.
So it's kind of like this organic thing that's happened. And so it's kind of interesting to see who all these people are. But I think because there's so many preconceived notions about Tesla and about electric vehicles and about Elon Musk, that I think it's important for people like us to kind of break down some of those doors and like introduce these new things to other people, because we're pretty open-minded. We're not going to pass judgment on something just because of, the owner of the company or what somebody had said, or you know what I mean?
Well, and it happens across all these manufacturing brands. You get American cars are garbage. Japanese cars are the best. Toyota Camry, it's all about them that last forever. Ford versus GM, Dodge, the Ram trucks are like the stepchild.
Are these all like based on the commercials that people have seen, or have they done what we've done? And because my whole entire car thing changed from going to the new car show. We've gone to several of them. And it is totally different to see a car, or maybe like, somebody has one and you rode in one once. And you kind of, or you just heard what they've said about it. When you actually can go and climb in all these cars, I have my own little, I kind of group everybody now together based on my experience of just shutting the damn doors. All these cars that are so nice and are $80,000 cars, and then you shut the door and it is cheap materials. Drives me fucking crazy. How are you going to charge people that much money for what, an Escalade? Or those are the ones that I'm thinking of mostly, that it is still a cheaply built car. It's not built well.
Well, and that's part of the problem on some of those, is they're the exact same car rebranded to a more expensive car. And so although there are more features or different leather or something, in the end, it's the same damn car.
So do you think all those people you were talking about that were talking about GM versus Ford, do you think that's how they were raised, or because it's marketing, or what do you think the whole reason for that is?
I think a lot of it is probably how they were raised, and maybe their first truck was a Ford, and so they go down that road of Ford forever, and then you got the exact opposite where they're Chevy guys and that's all they want. I got, I think both my brothers would choose Chevy over Ford or Dodge or anything like that. Even though I think one of my brothers, he's Toyota guy.
Does he have a Mazda? That's a Mazda.
Which one?
Mike.
He had the Mazda, but Paul had Toyotas.
Really?
He had Toyota trucks in high school. Toyota truck was the most recent truck he had.
Because didn't he have, I was thinking of Mike, he had a Honda Civic and then a Mazda Speed 3. So he's more of a Japanese cars, right?
We had the Speed 3.
Oh, his was just a 3? Okay. But see, that's still, he's kind of stayed in the same realm of what he did before. I think people get stuck on that. If you don't know, we've gone through some cars. We've gone through American cars, we've gone through Japanese cars.
And now, they're all different, because
they really are.
I want to experience them all.
I do too, because they are very different, and the marketing that they do doesn't always reflect what the car actually is. For example, the Escalade. You would think with the marketing that they do, and the kind of people that you think drive them, that it would be something high-end or fancy or whatever, but I thought they were kind of crappy. On the outside, they look nice, but then you get up close and it's not really done really well. I haven't been in one it's been a couple of years since we've been to a new car show.
Now, a 1959 door shuts nice.
Yes. And you're also going to have leaky water come in when it rains, and the windshield wipers are going to go, it's a give and take.
I got a whole video of it, just me shutting the door, and it just pop. That's what you want in an old, big, heavy door, just nice and solid.
Yeah, those new ones are quite light doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and some of that, I think, goes into the, different materials that they're using, trying to make the vehicles lighter as they inevitably get heavier. And that all goes into fuel economy and all that kind of stuff. So you never know where and why they cut corners where they do, but ultimately it's going to come down to how, efficiently can they produce these things, both to manufacture it and to operate it.
I think that some of the stuff that's going on, I think mostly in California, but the thing you were telling me today with the 8 cents per mile, was that's a federal thing that they're trying to push. So things that they're trying to make us, pay per mile, or, forcing everybody to go electric. I think doing that kind of mandates, unfortunately, is going to make a lot of people push against Teslas and other electric vehicles. And that's kind of a bummer.
Well, already, when we bought our Tesla, I went and registered it, and I didn't know, and they hit us with some electric vehicle fee in the registration. That was a couple $100. Well, where I'm expecting our registration should be less than $50, and it was almost $300. It's like, what the hell is this all about? And ultimately, what it was that if you're at a gas pump, you're getting taxed on that fuel anyways, right? So you're collecting that. So in an electric car, you're not getting that. So it's the government's way of still collecting that money from you. So we're actually better off. It's just it's a lump sum initially.
People like us not looking into it and be like, those red states, punishing people for having electric vehicles, and just assuming that it's like a punishment type thing, rather than looking into like what's really going on here. Because I don't think there's any punishment or anything like that for having an electric vehicle. But it was interesting that people need to pay for the roads, and if you're not going to pay for it with gas tax, they're going to get it a different way.
See, and we were just in Tennessee last week, and their roads are awful in Tennessee. Everywhere we drove, full of potholes. I mean, and from what we could tell, Tennessee's taxes were high.
They were. The sales tax was really high. It was like 10%.
In Georgia, where we are, the tax is pretty normal.
7-8?
Yeah, I mean, consistent with majority of the country, right? But our roads, for the most part,
are nice.
Are pretty good.
I hear good things about Georgia roads just in general.
Yeah, so I mean,
they take good care of them.
If I've got to pay a tax to have, they're telling me it's for the roads, I better see some good roads. And so if I got to pay that $200 instead of, a couple cents more every time I get gas, I see that's my contribution to being able to drive on smooth roads. Now, if I paid that large sum of money every year for our registration, and then we go out and we drive and I'm bending rims because of the potholes, I'm going to be pissed. But we got it pretty good.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's just the educational part. Because when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is this? Goddamn red state.
Right. Well, and that's that right there, like, wraps up everything. Like, people are so quick to assume and make, like, these super big judgments and never go any further than that. Where, sometimes you just got to look into it a little bit. So I'm glad that you did. We're kind of that kind of person anyway, that we'd look it up rather than just bitch about it. I look up
everything. I got that. It looked like a legitimate bill for me running in a lane on the highway that I'm not supposed to be
2 hours from where we lived at the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, so obviously, neither one of us took the car down there and did that. So right off the bat, I know it's garbage. But instead of just paying it or completely freaking the hell out, somebody took the car or something's messed up, right. I just a little bit of research and Google checked the number that was on it. Because, I mean, this thing looked legit.
Was it so it wasn't a speeding ticket, it was like riding in the Peach Pass lane?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. If anybody ever kind of slips in there or commutes or has teenagers that's in that area, you can be like,
because of where we lived and because, we work from our laptop or Sean's at the museum, like, we're not in the Atlanta area. So we definitely knew it wasn't us, but anybody that would have, driven, people would just have assumed.
But, a quick search to check, to see if this thing's legit, quickly proved it didn't exist. I mean, there's a whole state website that if you got a real one of these and matched up to, like, it'll tell you right there from a government.gov website, you need to pay that fine. And this didn't pull anything up. So obviously it wasn't real. Not only did I know it wasn't real, but I verified off of the information.
They sent you another one, though. They sent you it multiple times, too. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to be late. And again, you checked it?
Oh, yeah. Good? Yeah. And it's little things like that. We get it for website domains, where they'll send us something. Hey, you need to re-register this website. It's a place we've never registered it before. But if you didn't know, you'd be like, oh, I better register. That's definitely my website,
Right.
Or wind up calling them and being upset, and it's just a waste of time.
Well, people have this fear, and especially fear of the unknown in that. Like, a lot of business owners don't know what's really going on with their domain or where they have it. Somebody did it for them. So that fear that my website's going to be taken away, or you're going to take away my license, or you're going to give me a fee if I don't just pay it. But it's easy to just get wrapped up in that and try to just make it go away.
The best thing you can do is just breathe. And do a little research on whatever it is. Just, I know this is what's in front of you, what you're looking at, but take the time to step back and look at it from a different angle and compare notes, and then make a judgment call from there. Yeah. At least then you know more about whatever it is, and chances are it's nowhere near as bad as what you're thinking it is.
For sure. Just like the gas thing with the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Just gotta look into it. So when you first started the museum, like we didn't have a Tesla then, so you had no idea that you would be doing this whole like bringing Tesla into the museum.
But we installed all those Tesla chargers. What was that, 3 years ago? I think I got them installed. We started the museum in 2017, and I had 3 Tesla chargers and 2 universal chargers installed in the museum, I believe, by the end of 2018, maybe the first of 2019. And I never got to use them. And that's where we first had all the Tesla.
When Tesla came out, right.
And they came, and all the owners came, and that was pretty cool. But, I always wanted one, but they're expensive.
Yeah.
So it took a while for the used ones to come down to a price point that we were willing to pay for.
Again, though, like driving ours, like it's a nice car and everything, but I don't know if I would pay those new car prices just for that. Like it seems a little bit much. But again, because some people just really want that new technology, be the first ones to have it and stuff like that. I could see that it's smart to have it high. Because there are just some people that it's one of those like Apple, like people are like crazy about it that like, no, they don't care what it costs. Like they're going to go out and have the newest and the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in a way I could see that they do that. But yeah, they're a little spendy.
Yeah, the thing with Tesla is, Elon invested into the infrastructure of the charging network and everything. Plus the batteries last longer, for longer range. They're fast and fun. And before Tesla, they were short range, slow cars, funky looking, and no infrastructure anywhere whatsoever. So, it's obviously there's no opportunity for them to take off.
The first ones were funky looking, and like Sean said, we were from California originally, and everybody, like when we would drive down to like the Bay Area, like the San Francisco area, like every other car would be one of those ugly ass Priuses.
Yeah, they were butt ugly. Why did they make them so funky looking?
I don't know.
Make a good looking car. They could have made it a neat, sporty looking car at least, and had it still be the Prius drivetrain. But
were the Priuses cheap, or were they a little spendy too? I guess it's just a Toyota.
Yeah,
so
they're
it's
not a
probably
cheap
not too much.
car, but they're not a luxury car by any means.
Yeah, it's just interesting that he did make them so much better looking, except for those new ones that are all bubbly with the ugly headlights. Man, I hate those.
You don't like the Model 3s.
Is it the new Model 3 or is it the Y? It's a 3?
Yeah.
Those are ugly. Like every time I see one, stupid front end. They're dumb looking lights. It looks like a cartoon character or something. I don't know. I'm not a fan.
And that's what most of them are nowadays because they're half the price of a Model S.
Well, dumb looking cars. But it's still a better looking car than the Prius or the Leaf. The Leaf is a little bubbly looking thing too.
Well, and the performance model of the 3 is almost as fast as our car.
Really?
And that's quick.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
The Leaf isn't like that though, right? I have a friend that I work out with that had a Leaf, and I think she said the range on it was only like 60 miles or so. It might not have even been that. It was so tiny. Like, that's a little bucket car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me, zoom, zoom. But she was just going around town, so it definitely works for that.
No, and that's just it. It all depends on what you're actually using that thing for. So, where somebody else might be like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. But for you, it's exactly what you need. For me, it started as a means of driving an hour away to get to the museum without having to stop for gas every 2 trips.
And now it's a means to get across the road at the school to cross several lanes of traffic just to get the kid to school.
Yeah, it turned into the car that we drive the most now.
Which is crazy because I really did not think I was going to drive it. I'm like, I'm not driving a sedan. I don't feel safe in one. I'd rather drive in the crossover.
Well, and that goes to show being open to change. It'll work in your favor. Like, change is inevitable, and a lot of times it's for the better, even if it doesn't seem like it initially.